I'm Chris Kapches, president of Chestnut Park Real Estate. I'm here to talk to you about the April market results for the Greater Toronto Area. And it's a very interesting market that we find ourselves in, particularly if we're comparing April this year compared to April of last year. There have been some dramatic changes since April of last year. And to some extent they're reflected in the data that we have for market results for April of this year. However, when one drills down a little deeper, we can see that there are some similarities in the two marketplaces, even though you're probably going to see newspaper articles and journalist reports indicating how different the market is and how it's changed year over year. But the fact is, and particularly in the 416 region, that the market has strengthened fairly dramatically since the peak of last year, which coincidentally happened to be April of last year. And that strengthening has continued now for 4 straight months. I'm about to show you a chart that demonstrates that, and you can see in that chart that there has been a consistent increase in the average sale price of properties from the beginning of the year right through to April. Now that number is not as high as it was last year, but it is a strengthening on a monthly basis. And that strengthening is reaching levels that, if one forgets about the frenzied market that we had last year, that are almost consistent with where we were last year. And that's notwithstanding the 15% foreign buyers tax, and notwithstanding all the other measures in the Ontario Fair Housing Plan. The area that probably is the weakest in this year is single-family homes, and I think the reason for that is multifold. One, the average sale price for single-family homes had reached exceptionally high levels last year, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.6 to $1.7 million on average. That's dropped, but it's still only approximately $1,360,000. So still relatively strong in a kind of an absolute way. It only looks weak compared to that kind of frenzied period of last year. Semi-detached properties, interestingly enough, in the 416 came in at over $1 million, very close to where they were last year at this time. And the housing form that seems to be the absolute strongest in terms of rising prices is condominium apartments. And of course we know why that's the case, because they're the most affordable. At least they were the most affordable. As time goes on, I'm not sure that that will be the case, because we're now seeing average condominium apartment sales exceeding $600,000. And if you're in the downtown core, where the bulk of the condominium apartments are located, they're actually starting to approach $700,000 as an average sale price. So a lot of different things that are happening when you compare last year to this year. But if you just strictly look at the numbers that are being produced, we're seeing a strengthening market in terms of average sale price, and perhaps dangerously so, because we're seeing those prices go up to a point where affordability is once again becoming crucial in our marketplace. And as you probably know, if you exceed $1 million as a sale price, then you can't get a high ratio loan. It has to be a conventional loan. So that will exclude a variety of people from actually entering the marketplace. So heaven forbid that we see average sale price for condominium apartments exceeding $1 million, because that will exclude first-time buyers from high ratio loans. So the market is actually very strong, and I think it's going to get stronger. My one area that's a concern is if we look at the number of new listings that came in. So notwithstanding this tremendous difference between where we were in April of last year compared to where we are April of this year, last year in April, 21,000 new properties came on the market. Obviously, two things caused that. One, people taking advantage of the price points that the market had reached, and secondly, near the end of the month, when the Ontario Fair Housing Plan was announced, people became concerned about what would happen to prices and then quickly got properties on the market. So over 21,000 last year. We only had 16,000 this April, which means that if we continue to see strong sales, which we will see, we did almost 8,000 sales the month of April, there'll be a fairly substantial absorption. And when that absorption takes place, it puts, again, more pressure on prices. As prices go up, it creates an affordability issue, which I've just outlined. So we may be, in a bizarre way, heading towards a market not dissimilar to the market that we had a year ago. And that, notwithstanding that we've seen increases in average sale prices continuing to go up, notwithstanding that we've had 3 increases in interest rate hikes, and notwithstanding the new stress testing that was implemented at the beginning of 2018, which I've outlined in previous blogs. So I think we have to watch the market very carefully. May will be an interesting month to look at, because on a comparative basis, we'll have seen, if you've looked at the chart that I showed you a little while ago, you will have seen that May starts the decline period after the provincial government's measures to cool the market last year, and so we'll start being more comparative on an apple-to-apple basis this year to last year once we get into May. And then the comparisons will be such that we'll see the market actually becoming stronger in comparison to what the market was last year at this time. So, very exciting market that we find ourselves in, and I look forward to getting the May results and then providing them to you in our next blog. Thank you.